Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of my life story. This is the story between high school and the age of 20. If you do not know who I am a prophetess of God the Father. I believe that Jesus Christ walked the earth in the flesh and died for our sins and was resurrected 3 days later. Glory be to our God. Hallelujah. But if you have not seen part 1 of my life story, I would say go watch that before watching this. But at the end of the day, you can always watch this one too. Like I said, this one is my high school years up until the age of 20. I'm going to start with 9th grade. So last time I had talked about I had ended at the summer going into 9th grade. So now I'll start with 9th grade. I remember in 9th grade, we had moved to Greece, and I was still, for the first, I would say up until 10th grade probably, but I was still listening to a lot of heavy metal rock, a lot of like Black Veil Brides. It became more like that kind of music. Black Veil Brides, Five Finger Death Punch, 3 Days Grace. Who else did I listen to? I don't really remember. It's kind of gone with the wind. I deleted it from my memory. But I used to listen to that kind of music. And then I remember whenever I had first gotten there, I want to say within the first couple weeks, I became friends with 2 specific people. I will not call them out, obviously. But they did become 2 really good friends of mine. And I didn't know then, but now I know. But they were classified as Wiccans, and Wiccans is literally witchcraft. Like, Wiccans are witches. And I didn't know it then. So I would be kind of like doing what they were doing. They seemed to be very familiar with what it was that they were doing. In 9th grade, going into 10th grade, and then it went on to 11th grade, quite frankly. But all throughout those years, while I was friends with these 2 people, I remember I had used a Ouija board numerous times because I thought I was just talking to like dead spirits. I didn't know who I was actually talking to, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was something fun. I thought it was harmless. I did know like the rules and everything of using a Ouija board, but now that I look back, it's the rules ain't even like. Now I understand the rules. But I also had bought like a lot of pentagrams and stuff. So it's like another technique of being able to communicate with the spirits and stuff. What else was I doing? I was doing a lot. I think at one point someone had showed me tarot cards. I don't know how to use them. I never used them, but I know that they were brought to me. I didn't understand it. It was too complicated for me. I was like, nope, I'm good off that. But I do know that I want to say it was in like 10th grade, 10th or 11th grade. I can't really remember. I don't remember which year it was, but I do remember I did unfortunately bring the Ouija board to my mom, and I thought it was a harmless way of allowing us to be able to talk to my uncle who had passed away. Now I know that that is not the case. Do not get an Ouija board. Do not create an Ouija board. Just stay away from them. I do remember I had a friend that was fairly familiar with my situation and that I didn't have my phone, but my friend did lend me their phone, or a phone that they used to have. It was definitely thoughtful, you know? I was appreciative of it, and it was kind of like used if I needed anything. Like I could use it for, you know, obviously the data and stuff, but it was also used for like if I needed to be picked up to go to their house, or like if I just needed anything, if I needed someone to talk to, then I would have a phone to be able to talk and text someone for just to get things off my chest or whatever. But I do remember I did get told on about having it. So then I don't know if my parents had already known that I had it or had an idea that I had it. But I do remember I got told on, and then they definitely knew. And I remember that my dad had barged into my bedroom, and I had like a purse that I always kept it in, but I also had like a whole bunch of other things in the purse. I had a thing about that purse. But I remember my dad had barged in, and he was like demanding the phone, and I do remember telling him no and stuff, but I do remember it got a bit aggressive and hostile, and I do remember that he was like pulling it and pulling the purse and jerking the purse off of me, trying to get the purse off, and then it did actually become like a whole like fist brawl kind of thing, and in the process the purse did end up breaking, and then he ended up just taking the purse and he like threw it out the window. So I'm pretty sure the phone is broken. I never saw the phone again after that because well, I wasn't allowed to leave the house. But I do know that he had thrown it from about 3 floors onto the concrete. So I'm pretty sure it was broken. It had like no cushion in that purse whatsoever. But I do remember I felt really bad because that wasn't my phone. It was my friend's phone that my friend had lent me. I felt horrible, but I don't know. Pretty sure that phone never got back to that person. But I remember this happened not too long after the whole nude thing happened, and I remember everything was kind of like happening back to back, and I did have a moment. It was right after the phone had gotten thrown out the window and my dad had left. I did have a moment where I literally stood in front of the window and I like looked at, I did what I thought was like mental math or whatever, but I looked out the window, saw how far the drop was, considered the fact that it was concrete, and considered my odds of surviving throwing myself out the window or the chances of death on impact. That was one of the first times I actually was about to attempt at suicide. I very heavily contemplated it. I got to the point where like I was about to climb out the window and jump. But then at the back of my head, I heard a little voice that said, "Don't do it." Basically saying like it's all gonna pass. It's just temporary. And I listened to the voice. Obviously, I didn't jump. I'm pretty sure I would have died if I did hit that concrete. It was a pretty far drop. But I do remember instead I believe it was right after dinner, but whenever they had calmed me down, I had to clear the table. And I remember I had finished clearing the table and I just left. And I decided to run away. And I went to one of my friend's house instead, to kind of like cool down and feel safe, I guess you could say. I just didn't want to be in that house anymore. I didn't want to be surrounded by any of them anymore. I just wasn't happy at all. But I also remember, again, not too long after that one, there was a specific person that always, I guess you could say, had a way with words. I don't know how else to describe it, but he had a way with words. He was that kind of person that was like, "Oh, if you need a shoulder to cry on, I'm there for you." And there was one time where I did actually need a shoulder to cry on. So I did end up meeting him in one of the parks. But it ended up not being a shoulder to cry on. It ended up just becoming me getting molested and me trying to escape. So that did not make me feel any better about anything that was happening around that time. And then after that, I never talked to that person again. Blocked him on everything. Didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't care that we went to the same school. I avoided him at all costs. I didn't care. And then I also remember that at one point I had gotten a boyfriend, and I had started, I didn't like do it too often, but I did, the first time I had smoked was with him. I had skipped getting on the school bus to go home after school, and then I can't remember if I like left halfway through the class and left, or if it was right after school, but it was at the end of the day. And I do remember I skipped getting on the bus and decided not to go home because I didn't want to go home. I never wanted to go home, honestly, but instead I had gone with him to wherever the heck we had gone. I don't know where we went, but I went with him and I think 2 of his other friends, 2 or 3, and we all had decided to go and smoke. And for those who don't understand smoke, I do mean smoke marijuana. I don't mean cigarettes. But that was my first time smoking, and then it became kind of like it wasn't often, but it did happen more than once, but not more than 10 times. It wasn't very constant throughout high school. I was more of after high school. But I do remember also the same boyfriend. There were times where I would sneak over to go to his house. And there was one particular time where I think I only went over there like twice or 3 times, just because it was really far. And I had a curfew of 6 p.m., so I wouldn't have made it home. But there was one time, that was the last time that I had gone there. But basically, I was chilling, and I remember I was on the couch, and for whatever reason, he thought it was a good idea to try and convince me into having sex with him. I did not want to do it. It took a lot of like convincing and pulling me to the room and trying to get me comfortable, I guess. But I was uncomfortable the whole time. I didn't really want to do it. I wasn't really ready to have sex. But at the end of the day, I gave in because I felt like I was obligated to. I thought that, I don't know, that's what relationships were. That's what you were supposed to do in a relationship. So I did give in because I felt like I had to. But I didn't want to. I did say no, but it is what it is. And then, yeah, I remember I didn't even enjoy it. I definitely regretted it, but I remember I told myself that it was okay. I kind of like made myself feel better afterwards, and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad. It happens, but I kind of like made myself think that I was okay with it, I guess you could say. But it only happened once, and then after that, I never went back to his house again. But then in 12th grade, I remember we had moved to Germany, and I can honestly say 12th grade was probably my calmest years. I was not listening to rock music anymore. I think I was more into like classic rock, like Bon Jovi, and I listened to more like R&B, rap kind of things. Yeah, that was my style then. But I remember whenever we had moved to Germany, I was still a little mischievous. I was still taking the internet. I would break into their, I wasn't really breaking in. I was entering into their study room without their permission. And I would be finding my way of getting the password and stuff so that way I could have the internet, because once again, I still wasn't allowed the internet for over an hour. And then I also remember that there was 2 or 3 times I did go into the school on the weekends, even though I know I shouldn't have, but it was a fun little like thrill, I guess you could say. I was a very big adrenaline junkie, and I did a lot of things that would create a whole lot of adrenaline. I did more of stay to myself and stay to my friend group. I didn't really go past my friend group. I didn't really like attempt at being a bad child. There were times where I did think about like sneaking out in the middle of the night, because we had like a window that had a ledge under it, but I never did. I never saw the use. I was in 12th grade. I had 1 year left. I wasn't trying to have it miserable like the other years. I was trying to have a pretty decent year. And then I don't know how I passed high school. I don't know how. I think I passed high school with like a, what was it, like 2.6, 2.5 GPA. I made it like just above the passing. I don't remember what I made, but I don't know how I passed. I had made it just above. I can't remember if the passing was 2.0 or 2.4, but I had made it like a couple above that. But I remember I cheated my way through high school. I took AP classes senior year because I knew that the test at the end didn't count towards the grade. So I made it easier on myself. And I took 2 classes that were AP, so that way I didn't have to worry about the final exam. Other than that, I had like art and stuff. I mean, I don't know, I took fairly easy classes my senior year, just so that way I could get by and possibly pass. But I do remember that I had graduated, and it was about 1 to 2 weeks later, my dad had, I had a ticket to go to Wisconsin to go live with my mom. And my dad had told me that I was leaving the house. I can't remember if it was 1 to 2 weeks. It was within that time frame of graduating high school. I didn't have the luxury of the time gap between like school and going to college or having a job. I didn't have that time gap. I was booted from the house to join the military at the age of 17. So, and it wasn't long after I had graduated. I had that ticket in my hand and I was out the door. And that was not my doing. If I had the choice, I would have stayed in Germany quite a bit longer. I did enjoy Germany a lot. I was really sad to go. It was really nice. It was a nice country. I enjoyed it there. I was sad that I had to leave right after graduating high school. And then I had signed for enlistment at the age of 17. I didn't actually get to go into the military until I had just turned 18. So that following August, I had turned 18. And I remember we had to do that because in order to join at 17, you have to have both parents sign a contract saying that they agree. And because my dad was still in Germany, we're having issues getting his signature and stuff, and it became too much work. So I was okay. with procrastinating it. I did not mind waiting a little bit longer because I didn't really want to join the military. I just knew that I had nothing going for my life and I had absolutely nothing else to do with my life. So I also had joined the military because I knew I wanted to join some kind of fight, and I thought it was for the military, but later on the lines I learned that the battle that I wanted to join was in fact not for the military. It was actually for God our Father, but that's a different topic. But I do also remember before graduating high school, at some point in high school, a family member did uncomfortably slap my butt and had gotten noticeably excited, I'll say. I do remember feeling uncomfortable, and I did my little like awkward half walk, half run away, and I just never wanted to think about it again because that was the most uncomfortable thing. But after I had after I had joined the military, I want to say I was happy for probably like the first few months. I got to my first base and it took about maybe 3 months, and I was already into drinking a lot, partying all the time. I was out of control. It got to the point where I had friends that were telling me that I needed an intervention because I did become an alcoholic at the age of 18. Yeah. And then it lasted up until the age of 20, me being an alcoholic. And then I had a break. But I do remember that I was getting a lot into drinking because I realized that the military wasn't for me. I had made a mistake. I was so homesick for my mom. I wanted to go live with my mom. I didn't like the military at all. That's just my opinion, but it was not for me. It wasn't all bad though. But I remember there was one point where I had gotten very heavily drunk, and I do remember I did get raped. It's kind of like a blur just because I was very intoxicated, but I do remember that is what had gotten me to like move out the dorms and stuff. And then I remember when I had moved out, then I really got into the civilian world of I'm not gonna say where I was, but I really got into the civilian world and I made more civilian friends. And that's when I was drinking, partying, and smoking. And I got to the point in life where I didn't care what happened to me. I was overly depressed. I was sad all the time, mad all the time. I got to the point where I was drinking right before work. I was drinking at work. I smoked every weekend. I didn't care if I had to take a pee test. I was like, whatever. But I do remember also after I had moved into the new house and I was getting into a lot of smoking and stuff, I did get really high at one point and really drunk at the same time. What was that word? Faded or something? But I do remember that there was 2 people there with me. I thought I could trust one of them and the other one was a stranger, but it had gotten to the point where I had realized that the marijuana that I was smoking, it was laced with something. I would say like shrooms or something. But I do remember like whenever I had moved my hand in front of my face, it was like colorful. It was not normal. but I had made my way back into my house because I was afraid that if I stayed on my balcony after I had smoked, that I was gonna fall off the balcony. It was terrifying. So I tried to go back into the house, and I went to the bedroom, and I had laid on the bed, and I was just saying like, oh, I just need to sleep it off. I just need to sleep it off, that's all. I'm just gonna sleep it off. But I remember the guy that I thought I could trust had came into the room, and I do remember that he did try and sleep with me, but thankfully the other person, the stranger, came barreling into the room, and he kind of understood that I was way too far gone to understand what was going on. And I remember that he had told the guy that it's time to go, like, to leave me alone. He was nice enough, and he did cover me with the blanket and everything. And then I remember he took the other guy, and they just left, and I woke up super late the next day for work. I was very late. But that was the last time I had smoked at my first space. I learned from that. I was like, nope, not happening again. So then I got traumatized from smoking then. And then I had moved, and then I kind of like calmed down a bit. And then I had met another guy in my same apartment complex while I was walking my dog. And I remember he had pulled up on me and asked me if our dogs could breed, because I had a German Shepherd Husky and he had a Pit Bull. And I remember that's how we had started talking. And I remember it was fine for the first 10 days of our relationship. Did not last long at all. And then he started becoming very controlling and manipulative. And I remember he was taking my phone, going through all my messages, accusing me of cheating all the time. And I wasn't cheating. I was fairly mellow. Like, I wasn't doing anything. But he assumed that because I had guy friends that I was cheating. And I do remember he did get to the point where he was deleting my apps and told me that if I had, like, for example, Snapchat, if I re-downloaded Snapchat and he saw my little Snapchat number thing change, then we would have a lot of problems. So he made me late to work that same day because he had locked himself in the bathroom and was going through my phone for like 2 hours. And I had to go to work, and I needed my phone to get to work. And I remember whenever I had gotten my phone finally, this is when he had said all that. And I had gotten to work, and I remember I explained to my supervisor what happened, why I was late. And around lunchtime, he said something outlandish that was quite alarming, honestly. And I remember I had to leave at lunch to go back home again to get him out of my house, basically. So that same day, I was kicking him out of the house, and that was the day that we had broken up. I had cut ties and everything, but unfortunately it did not end there. I can say that I did antagonize him a few times just because I didn't think it would go very far. I didn't think anything would actually happen if I antagonized him. But there was a few times where, like, say, for example, I was petty. He left stuff in my apartment, and I knew that it was just a reason to come back to the apartment, because at the end of the day, I knew he was pretty dangerous. I personally was afraid of him, but I still antagonized him. I was still being bold. But there was one point where he did leave stuff in my apartment, and he told me to give it back to him. So I was petty, and I put it in the grass across the street. And I told him, go get it, because I'm not giving it to you. And then I remember he had gotten mad off of that. And I remember that relationship was full of him calling me a whore, a slut, a B word. And he was just always aggressive to me, always mad at me, always accusing me of cheating, even though we weren't even dating anymore. Just because I had guy friends and I hung out with guys. But I do remember also there was one point right before I had moved out of this apartment. I had confided in someone that I was working with for help because I started feeling very unsafe because he was starting to always drive past my apartment to see if I was home. He started getting very, very aggressive, but there was one point where this person that I had confided in had gone directly to him. I didn't know that they actually knew each other and were close friends. And basically he told my ex that, you know, I was telling lies and I was trying to spread around rumors about him or something. And lo and behold, he showed up at my door, and I knew the choices were either let him in or call 911. And me being an antagonizer, I let him in. I don't know why I did that, but he started asking me a whole bunch of questions. It was kind of calm in the beginning. He was asking me some questions. He was like, oh, I know you said this, this, and this to this person. And I had to correct him a few times. He didn't like the corrections. He kept saying that I was lying. And eventually it turned into a whole, him trying to suffocate me to death with a pillow. So like he took a pillow and put it over my face when we were sitting on the couch. And he really did try and suffocate me. I remember like there was a lot of force on that pillow, but I thank God because I found the smallest pocket that I could breathe through and I could get just enough air to be okay. And when he realized that I was still breathing, he pulled off the pillow and he said, if I wanted to kill you right now, I would. And I tried to get him out of the house. At that point, I was terrified of him. I knew that he actually wanted to kill me. And I really did want to get him out of my house. But I was too afraid to tell him to leave after that had happened. So I would say it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I had work the next day. So I told him that I was just going to go to bed. And he ended up following me to the bedroom. And he did end up molesting me and then raping me, and decided that he wasn't going to leave the apartment again. So I had to deal with that. So then I had to get my commander at the time to get me a work order so that I could move out of the apartment. And I remember whenever I was moving to the new apartment, there was one point where I did run into him again while I was moving. And he asked me why I was moving. And I had said that my lease was up, when in reality it was just to become safe again. But he did follow me to the new apartment, so he knew where I lived. And then I was housing, it was a little bit after, I was housing a friend of mine, and I went to work. It was that Monday, I believe, but I will never forget the day. It was July 24th, 2018. But I was at work and I came home, and the girl that I was housing said that she was uncomfortable and she wanted to go home. Mind you, I walked in through my front door and she was sitting on the couch and he was sitting on the other couch. And I was taken aback because I was kind of wondering why he was in my living room. in the first place. But she had told me she was uncomfortable and I needed to take her home, so I did. And I remember it had taken, I say it took about 4 hours because I genuinely did not want to go back to my house. I did not want to go deal with that situation. So I did take my time taking her back, and she lived about an hour away from me. So whenever I did get back, he was still sitting on my couch, but he was playing my PlayStation. So he made himself very comfortable. And I remember I had like one couch here and one couch here. I sat on this couch and he was on this couch. And I remember at one point I was sitting and I was texting one of my security forces friends, which is like military cops. And I was kind of like telling him like, hey, such and such is in my house. Like, if I call you, then that means like I need you here like immediately. Because it was one of the people that one of the security forces people that I had confided in and everything that was happening. So he was pretty aware of who he was, and he was willing to help me out and stuff. But old buddy, old pal thought I was cheating, even though I wasn't dating him again, but accused me of it again. But in reality, I was texting my security forces friend for potential help. So I remember he had told me, like, come here. At first he said it like calmly to kind of like try and convince me that it's going to be okay if I like walk over to the other side of the couch to him. But I had like this internal fear that I knew that it wasn't going to be okay. So it took him about 3 or 4 times to tell me aggressively to go to him. So I kind of had this idea that if I didn't get up, then he was going to come to me and it was going to be a lot worse. So I just got up and I went to him, and I do remember that he did force me to do oral on him for about 3 to 4 hours straight. And then after that, I had told him that I had work the next day and I was just going to go to bed because I didn't want any part of it. But I asked him to go home and he said, no, I'm feeling kind of sick. I think I'm going to stay. So me being afraid, I just went to bed anyways. And I remember I was laying on the bed and I was scrolling through Instagram a little bit, and he had gone into the kitchen and you could see directly where I was from the kitchen. And he started yelling at me again to give him my phone, but I wouldn't. So I remember he did attack me, and it went into like this whole spiel of him strangling me at first to where he left marks on my neck. He did bruise my neck, and then he also pulled a gun out and he did attempt at shooting me, but he didn't get very far. Thankfully, Abba had stopped the bullet in the chamber, and the gun ended up not working anymore. And even the police officers were kind of confused because they were puzzled that the bullet got stuck in the chamber, how it got stuck in the chamber. They couldn't figure it out. It was definitely unnatural. But it became this whole situation of I was up until I had to go to work, and he still had my phone. He broke my phone so I couldn't call 911. And there were times where I did attempt at grabbing my keys, grabbing my dog, and grabbing a broken phone. And I was about to go try and run out to my car to like run away and stuff. But that's when he had come back with the gun and made it very clear that I wasn't going anywhere. So whenever it was time to go, he kept my phone. I couldn't have my phone, so nobody could get in contact with me. I had no idea what time it was by the time I got to work. I didn't know what he was doing on my phone until I got to work, and my dad called me on my work phone and told me that he was sending threatening messages to everyone. I remember he was telling people that I had given him gonorrhea and I had cheated on him, and that if anybody had tried to get in contact with me, they had to go through him, and that if he found out who I had cheated on him with, then he was going to kill us both. Mind you, none of that was real. None of that even happened. I didn't do any of that. But he sent that message to my commander, my first sergeant, my family, and everyone in my chain of command for work. So word got around work pretty quickly, and they took very quick action on getting me out of the state. So I did have to go through a lot of court and everything. That was when I was very heavily depressed again as well. It was very troubling going to the courtroom and explaining what happened, and being brought to tears and everything from the trauma, and then just looking over and seeing him laughing because he did get arrested and stuff. We did call the cops, so he was arrested and he was incarcerated and stuff. But I do remember I was giving my I don't remember what it's called, but my little spiel of what had happened. And I do remember I was crying, and I had looked over and he was just laughing at me. And I remember my distinctive thought of, how could you do this to someone and then laugh at them because they're so traumatized. And I was traumatized for quite a few months. And then the military had decided that it wasn't safe for me to stay in New Mexico at all. So they had moved me. They had asked me, well, they gave me a list of places, and they told me to pick my top 3. And I remember that I had picked where I am now, and then I think it was like Illinois and Germany, I think I had put. But I remember that whole situation. My mom did come and help me out through it, and I am thankful for her for that. She's really the only one that actually helped me through it, other than my best friend. Other than that, nobody really helped me. And I remember people were always telling me that I wasn't going to get the state that I had put as my number 1. And I thank God, because here I am. And I moved out here at the age of 20. I had just turned 20. All of this had happened about 10 days before my birthday. So that was a pretty interesting birthday. I didn't do anything on my birthday. The whole time that I had to be moved into emergency dorms. So it's like a dorm where people in emergency situations, they could have a place to stay. I remember I was in the dorms, and there was people in the military, and they would bang on my door. And I remember it brought me back into a lot of PTSD, and I was pretty petrified to go to sleep, and I had to sleep by myself in the room. I had absolutely no one there, no one around that I could talk to. It was pretty brutal right after all of that had happened. And then I also remember, after I had gotten the state that I'm at now, I had moved out here in October, and I remember, I think I got here in like 2 days. Not even. I could have got here in a day, but my mom told me I needed to stop at a hotel. So I got here in about 2 days. And I was talking to someone out here, and that turned into a whole situation of bringing me back into my PTSD, being accused of things that I didn't do, being verbally abused, and just treated really badly, cheated on constantly. It was a pretty toxic relationship. But whenever I had moved out here, I remember the first day that I got here, I was forced to go to Subway. I really did not want to go. I had just gotten there, and I was in a car for, I think it was like, I'd say it was like a 20-hour drive, and I had driven about 8 hours that day, and I did not want to go to Subway. I was not having it, but I did go, and I remember on that night I had met the love of my life, and I'm definitely thankful that I had met him. I'm thankful that I got dragged to Subway in the first place, but unfortunately he had to meet me when I was very heavily broken, traumatized. I had a lot of PTSD, I had a lot of depression, I had a lot of anxiety, I had a lot of anger, a lot of sadness. I had a drinking problem still. I was very insecure. I tended to show up a lot in sweaters and sweatpants, hoodies and sweatpants and boots, just because I was uncomfortable with my body, all the things that had happened to it. I just didn't want anyone to recognize that, like how I felt, I guess you could say. I wanted to hide it as best as I could, so I just kind of wore really baggy clothes. But I remember when I first got out here, I was partying and drinking all the time. It got to the point where, again, I had people tell me that I had a problem, and I once again did become an alcoholic, because at this point it got to the point where I would drink to get blackout drunk, just so that way I could honestly, I don't know what my goal was. Sometimes it was to forget what I had gone through, sometimes it was to emphasize the pain. But I remember that there was a party that I went to at my last date, and I was not very drunk. I think I had like 2 mic cards, and that was it. And I was a pretty heavy weight after all that drinking I had done. I was a pretty heavy weight, but I remember some, like, a cop from base. He was dressed in civilian clothes, you know. He was like off duty, of course. He was at a party too. But I remember he had grabbed my arm, and in that split second, it was the liquor that I had in me, the 2 mics, plus a whole lot of PTSD, and I went crazy. And I remember I started swinging on him, and I tried to deck him in the face for touching me. I went maliciously crazy, and I remember I had to have 2 of my friends drag me out of the house and carry me down to the car, and they had to actually take me home because my PTSD had started going very haywire. They like to believe that I was drunk, but I wish I could say I was drunk, but I wasn't drunk. I was just very, what is the word? I forgot the term, but it's whenever you have PTSD and it's like a flashback into the situation that you were in that gave you PTSD. I don't remember what the name of the word was. If someone remembers, please let me know. I don't remember the word, but it basically, I was blinded to what was actually going on in front of me, and it was as if I was back in that situation defending myself again. So I may have looked drunk, but to me, I was seeing the same situation again, and I was trying to defend myself again. And that didn't end until about when I had gotten home. I think I had fallen asleep about halfway home, and I had woken up, and I was fairly decent again. And I wasn't really drunk or anything still, but I was groggy from the PTSD and everything that had happened. But that's basically from 9th grade up until 20 years old, the fun years, and a little snippet of how I had met my loving dear husband, who has been through me through all of that brokenness. But stay tuned. Next week we're going to be posting both of our testimonies of like when we first got together up until we had given our lives to Christ. I mean, I'm gonna tell the romancy part. I'm gonna tell how we actually met and everything. I don't know if he will, but I will. I think it's cute. But it was good times. It was good times. I love it. It still makes me happy. But do stay tuned. That will be posted next week. I thank you everyone for watching, and I'm sorry the video is so long, but that is my life story, part 1 and part 2. It is what it is, and I don't regret anything that I had gone through. It's sad, but it made me who I am, and it made me all the more inclined to come to God, come to Christ. It's a lot, but it's okay. It's all right. But I thank you once again for watching, and I pray that you stay tuned for next week's video. It's gonna be cute.